I'll declare the meeting adjourned. We go to 7.11, page 249, Chief Executive's report.
Good team. Gosh,
Yeah, where to start?
It's quite a lot to go through. I guess certainly like to highlight a couple of things in terms of updates since the council. I'm not sure I mentioned it in my report, but we've recently undertaken some reviews and health and wellbeing. One of the key pieces that came out was we undertook a random drug and alcohol test with safety sensitive staff. And so that is staff who are operating heavy machinery or in regulatory or control roles that we consider safety sensitive. And actually a random drug test, and that was 39 tests undertaken on that morning with 0 failures or not negative results, which is fantastic. So they tested for 7 different types of drugs as well as alcohol, and we expected that result, and we're very pleased with the outcome. There were also the other piece I'd just like to highlight was by the end of my report I mentioned the land purchase. So we've entered into an unconditional agreement on the 85 hectares, which is the neighbouring farm at Matarawara Road. Obviously, price will remain subject to confidentiality until such time as we settle, which will be in early March. And that will provide us with a great deal of options for both land-based irrigation and potentially for organic waste. And even we're considering whether or not it may have some opportunity for revenue potential and upside. Other than that, there's quite a lot to go through. So the piece around major projects was relatively short this time, given that we'd recently done an update to the policy projects meeting shortly before that. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions? Bring it on. Councillor Cretney.
Thanks, Steph. I've got a few questions, Jeff. Everyone can just jump in when they want. Have we had many applications for the waste minimisation fund so far? Do you know?
Not off the.
For an event, we've assessed that one and approved that one. Next year we'll do a whole option.
Great,
thank you.
Thank you. You mentioned the schools link and that the detailed design has been completed. Is it possible for council to, just thinking about potential funding that may appear with our new government, is there an opportunity there to reopen talks with our key stakeholders so that potential cycleway could potentially go ahead in the future?
Property owners?
Yes.
I'm happy to continue conversations with the property owners. The risk is it will be as we'll get mixed messages like we did last time, and we'll end up with no answer. So I'm happy to continue. I think it would be unwise of us to seek additional funding until we had the property owners' written agreement, and I think that's the right way forward from here. Yes, we'll take that on board.
Just wondering if a budget's been set aside for the active transport strategy that is proposed.
What?
We're comfortable that we can do that within our existing community development budgets.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else want to ask?
No, you're on a roll.
Keep going.
Oh, wait.
Just you've mentioned Annette resigning. I'd just really like to thank Annette Beattie for her. I know she's sitting out there for her work over the last 3 years. I think she's done an amazing job, and I'm sad to see her go. So
as are we, and I will pass on your comments.
Yeah. You mentioned the land purchase. Budgets being sought for potential irrigation costs and so forth prior to us leading into the LTP?
Yes, we anticipate if we have a preferred option, that's what Aileen has her hand up. If we have a preferred option for an LTP, as any item within the LTP, we will include the budget for that preferred option and obviously consult on it and the consequences of that budget, the cost. So yes, we're now doing a whole heap of work as to what we could do with that particular land purchase, whether that be irrigation to land, whether that be irrigation above land, whether that be irrigation and waste management, so organic waste management. So there's plenty of options and we're looking at those.
Great.
Councillor Aileen.
Thank you. Just a quick question on our council visit to the Carterton Youth Village. I was wondering if there were any action points or anything that you're working on at the moment with Wayne, Jeff, following that time we spent with them.
Yeah, so only in the youth strategy. So they're incorporated in that rangatahi strategy, implementation strategy that we just adopted earlier.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Any other questions? Councillor Della.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I'm a little bit disappointed in myself in the 15-page report. I can only find one question. Sorry about that, Jeff.
I'm getting better.
Yeah, but just about answered all my questions. But yeah, under the major projects update on the bottom of page 263, Darfield Pump Station, have we got an operational date of when that's actually going to be commissioned and operational?
Yes, we do. So as part of the commissioning, councillors will be pleased to know that we're required to test the water tanks, which means we're required to fill them. So we've been through this process and have filled the water tanks completely. So we've got 4 million litres of additional water storage currently available. The tanks then get superchlorinated because it's the very first time they're used. So the bladders are used and the pipes are used. So we superchlorinate and then we wait for a period of time for that superchlorination to dispel. And then we begin emptying the tanks through the pump system back into the main water systems, water supply reticulated network. And we're currently in the process of doing that. And once we've done that, emptied the tanks completely, we will have finished commissioning and then we'll fill them back up again for the summer period. But yeah, so they're full at the moment and they're currently in the process of just going through that process of commissioning the pumps and emptying them.
So it's a mere wheels of journey. It's a matter of days.
It's a matter of days, yeah.
Which hand is that? Is that your hand up, Your Worship, or is that Robin?
My mistake.
Okay.
Very good.
Your Worship.
No, but mine is now. Look, I want to start by issuing congratulations and acknowledging both the work of the CE and the council in the decision around the land purchase. It's very easy to win a lot of credit and brownie points from your community when you do the fluffy stuff, the high profile stuff in the community. Very rarely do people acknowledge or thank you for a major decision such as that which you've just made and which the CE has seen through, that being the purchase of the farm. In time, people will thank you and acknowledge you for the vision and the courage that you've just displayed through this decision. So I think you really should, and having been down this pathway before, I really know how it comes back to you many, many years later and the sense of satisfaction it gives. Won't feel that way right now, but believe you me, 5 or 6 years down the line, you will derive a great deal of satisfaction from having made such a bold and courageous decision. The other questions I have might be around waste, zero waste, waste minimisation, predictably I say coming from me. I'm just wondering, Jeff, how closely coordinated our people or the contractor is with what's happening in Masterton, particularly with the Masterton Resource Centre. It seems to me that the Masterton Resource Centre, from a visit there, is doing things that we could be doing, or at least we could be collaborating with more. And I know, Steve, Councillor Carrington, this is your patch. You've got your eye over that, but to go there and see bicycles that have been pulled out of the Masterton tip, 30 of them all lined up, ready to be almost given away to young families who need bicycles, was very, very impressive. Those bikes having been repaired at the resource centre and being sold very, very cheaply. There are also items that they are recycling out of there that we can't recycle out of our place. So I know we've made some huge step forward, Jeff, and I congratulate the team for that. But I guess I'm always looking for that total zero waste outcome. And when I see another organisation 20 minutes down the road from us doing stuff better than us, I wonder what level of communication or cross-pollination we actually have, and if there's something we can take advantage of. Just a point, yeah.
Kia ora, Your Worship. I can absolutely answer that and say I'll get onto that because it's not another organisation. We both have the same solid waste provider. So I would hope that if services are being delivered to Masterton, that we can get those very same services 12 kilometres south, given that we pay the same provider the same amount for dealing with our solid waste as Masterton do. So we'll take that as an action and follow up.
Yeah, so thank you. And one of the most astonishing things was, and forgive me for sounding weird, but we collect all the blister packs from the medications that we take and we store them. And I've just been very pleased to find that the Masterton Resource Centre is recycling all of those. So that's on top of the bicycles that now don't go to the landfill, nor to blister packs, which are currently not able to go into the soft plastics. So it's interesting. They also collect all crockery that doesn't go to landfill as far as Masterton Resource Centre is concerned. They pass those on to sculptors and people who do mosaics and who are always screaming out for broken crockery. So, you know, it sounds like a small thing, but I guess over 12 months, if you could take all the crockery out of the landfill, it might weigh a bit and it might reduce costs from our contractor. Yeah, just an observation.
Glenda, Councillor Ayling, have you got your hand up?
Yes, I do, but I'm happy for you to go to Glenda first.
Okay, go Glenda.
I just wanted to add, so the word Masterton Resource Centre is a community-led organisation, so they're a charitable trust, and they work alongside our contractor. Mediston have started something quite similar, so I think there is community that's interested in these things, and we'd be more than happy to sit alongside and support, a community initiative like that here at Carterton.
Thank you, Glenda. Councillor Ayling.
Can I just comment on this?
Okay.
Because I've been talking with Sandra this morning about the bicycle recycling. Celia got in touch about it. But on talking about the recycling that you've mentioned, Ron, it says some of the items are sent to the district council, so they're recycled, but others are recycled at the resource centre's own cost. So it's possibly that they're paying to get the things recycled that we can't do.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Newman. Councillor Ayling.
It's interesting.
My question was just around I'm not sure if this is how you pronounce it, but the Evans conference that was attended by Erin and Vic from our council. I was wondering if council would get an update at some point, or just a brief report on how that went and what kind of learnings were from that conference on event management.
Do that. I can add that we weren't the winners of the award either, so that went to Tweetway.
Okay.
For the
Fourth place.
Really?
yes, but yeah, more than happy to do a paper or.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other
Comments?
Yep, let's have a comment.
The pool. We've been down there a couple of times since it's opened and it's super busy and it's been managed so well. Like you feel super, super safe down there. Like it used to be, I always had to be on guard with the kids and I still am always watching them. But to have lifeguards walking around that are constantly watching that pool, it feels like a really nice place to be. And also thank you for doing that ramp. That's going to make a big difference to a lot of people's lives and accessibility and the disabled toilet upgrades as well. So thank you for.
In the slide? Was it
The
working?
slide, I personally have not been down the slide, but
Right.
my husband and children have. They loved it. The water definitely seems to be different. And they do go, flying out the end of it, so.
Thank you.
Ryan's heading down after the council meeting,
Yeah.
apparently.
Are there any other comments that are printable?
I don't know if this is a question or a comment, and it's really peripheral. It's on my mind, so I mention it. That sort of relates.
You're starting to frighten me now.
Now it's pretty obvious that we are going to retain the ownership of our wastewater. And have we given any thought to setting up a council-controlled operation to run our water assets? Partly so it just seems like a tidy way to do it, but also with a view to thinking about merging. It might be easier to merge two existing council-controlled organisations at some point in the future.
A very astute question, Councillor Lawrence, and you will note from my report and from the pack that there is nothing in there that mentions Three Waters reform, and we did that deliberately because we know as much as everyone else about what's about to happen. So we decided there was no point saying that we know nothing. I do believe that a few things will be clear, is that we will retain ownership of our assets, and that will lead to a number of councils, particularly in the Wellington region, having some challenging funding conversations for their water assets, and particularly a few councils over the hill that are struggling with debt and a rating issue. In terms of Wairarapa, I think if you would ask me, so if we are going to retain our asset, what are we going to do? I would recommend we begin the conversation with North and South, with South Wairarapa and with Masterton, and discuss how we might do something along the Rumahanga roads, joint operating model. Potentially we could consider a range of options, some with structural changes, i.e. physically moving the assets into a CCO, moving the assets and the revenue into a CCO, moving into a joint venture type structure, or just having a shared services type arrangement. A first step might be to undertake what's called a Section 17A review of our water services operation, which would provide a basis for information and options rather than just to speculate. So I think once we get clarity from the government, my thinking is that we undertake a formal review of our water services in the Wairarapa in order to inform both this council and the councils to the north and south of us as to what our options are, and then we can have a more robust and informed conversation about what our future might be. But at this stage, I think those options of a CCO, an asset owning CCO, a completely separate JV, they're all on the table for us.
But that's, I guess, what I'm thinking. That's not then likely to form part of our long-term planning process this time.
Not at this stage, no. We are in a better position than some councils. I do know some councils require a referendum in order to undertake anything to do with waters. And I do know that apart from Kapiti, we are the only council with smart water meters in the Wellington region, and that makes a significant difference to our water consumption and our understanding of water loss. We're in a really good position at this stage. Our land purchase has just added to that. Carterton's in a good space. Doesn't mean we can't do better or scale up in terms of the Wairarapa.
Thank you for the question. It's very pertinent. Are there any final comments of Jeff's report? Your Worship.
Yeah, just only a supplementary comment to your Jeff's answer to your question, Councillor Lawrence. I guess with the combined council meeting and the South Wairarapa contribution very fresh in my mind, it would seem to me that that is one strategic decision which should not be taken in isolation of the big decision. And I'm very conscious that when we enter into joint arrangements, they get muddled with, and we've highlighted that very bluntly in the previous combined council meeting. The advice from the CE has been very clear. That's not all rosy in those gardens. So I think this is a great opportunity, but we should seize the entire opportunity. People need to understand they cannot have their cake and eat it too. They also need to understand that probably one of the highest levels of sensitivity I've detected around the merger discussion is from ratepayers who fear that they will pick up other people's debt and that they will not have it ring fenced. That's going to be a very challenging conversation to work our way through, but it's not to say we shouldn't have it. So I think in the new year, I think I'd look forward to these for conversation in that Three Waters space, how it might be best handled across the whole of the Wairarapa. But let's not lose sight of the fact that some people want to have cake and eat it too, and they shouldn't be allowed to.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before I move the report, I just want to acknowledge Jeff and his team in particular for the work completed this year. It's been not without its challenges, but that's life in local government. And as His Worship said before, people come and people go, but I just want to acknowledge the way Jeff has led the staff and the management of council, being able to replace people with quality and to enable the continuity of council and to retain the trust and confidence in councillors of the advice that we seek to help us with the decisions that we're obliged to make. So if you could extend to your team our appreciation for work done and work still to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will do.
I'll move the receipt of this report, seconded by Councillor Cherry Campbell. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we have Anna from DW. So we'll go back to the future, page 150. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you very much. Thank you for accommodating me a bit later on than I would normally speak. I've been over the hill in Wellington with Erin Collins, actually from CDC, talking about regional trails, which is quite pertinent to this part of the world as well. Look, I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to come and speak to you face to face. Tourism is an interesting place, particularly us here in the Wairarapa. You will see from the papers that you've got that started from some time ago now. We struggle with data nationally. It's not just for this region about getting stuff that's pertinent for us that we're able to timely look at what's been and then forecast for the future. At a national level, they're trying to solve that. But in the meantime, you know, the times that I've been here in front of you, most of the time I've spoken about rosy pictures with tourism. We had a great COVID, dare I say it. We had the benefit of Wellington over the hill and various other factors that we had people coming over the hill and they spent money in the Wairarapa and they enjoyed it. And it's created a level of confidence in this sector in particular. And so we're seeing inward investment coming in the form of sort of infrastructure being built. And I mean that in buildings, not in the sort of sense of roading and all that sort of stuff. But there's also more businesses that have gone, look, if we can get through a time of trial like we have with COVID, then maybe it's a good time to set up a business. And I was just reflecting in the last 2 weeks, I've had 4 businesses from Carterton in the area who have requested to become members of Destination Wairarapa. This part of the world between the north and the south is doing great guns or going great guns in tourism. And it's only going to get better with Dark Skies, Stonehenge, Whiti Manuka, all the other excellent activities and the events, the community events being run out of here are certainly a draw card because they add vibrancy to the region and, inward investment. People are looking for that sort of thing. What I wanted to highlight is that Wellington is very sensitive to what happens in the government. when Wellingtonians are not going out and drinking and eating, hospitality wise, which we know is not happening at the moment, they're also not coming over the hill and spending money in this region. So the report that you're likely to get from me next time round is not going to be quite so rosy. Unfortunately, I wish it was different, but it's not. And I don't think that that's going to settle itself down anytime soon with cost of living, interest rates, etc. However, if we have a good summer, good. We're all waiting for the weather forecast to be correct. And then, you know, we'll always have friends and family coming through the Christmas, New Year period. But it's that those people who don't have school children, who are an older age group, that we want to pick up later on to continue through the long summer, hopefully into a lovely autumn, to come and enjoy our area. And those are typically international tourists. They stay longer and they spend more. Where we can really make some positive impact is with dark skies. And so I wanted to come and speak to you and just encourage you to continue the great work you're doing in the Great Skies, looking after the reserve and supporting tourism that can come from that, particularly in this part of the world. And I know Carterton are really enthusiastic about. They embraced Space Week this year, and they're really keen to get into it again next year. And it's really heartening to see. So I want you to think about that as you're going through your planning process. The other thing is events. Events, they inject a large amount of money into a region in a short space of time, and we are good at events across the whole Wairarapa region. And when you've got major events that have an impact on everybody in terms of accommodation and food, etc., if you lose them, it's very difficult to get them back. And a number of you were at the combined council meeting that I presented on, and I know a number of you understand that the more that the region is open for business when it comes to events, the more that we can support the existing major events that we've got here and hopefully attract some new ones that are appropriate to this region. So another thing, thinking about how perhaps the three councils can work together, following on that theme about working together on events. Doesn't have to always be money. It can be just, you know, changing a perception and having a lens of events over the things that we do in order to make it easy for those who run them or those who want to come to the region and set one up. More than happy to take any questions you may have, but we're in for a bumpy ride. Tourism is good. It's economic development. It injects money into the region and it creates vibrancy. So please do think about it in a positive fashion also when you're considering the future.
Thanks, Anna. Are there any questions of Anna on behalf of Destination Wairarapa? Are there any comments for Anna on behalf of Destination Wairarapa? Councillor Della.
On page 159 in the report under events, you've got Daffodil Festival written down. You've finally got a really great day, etc. And then down again, you've got Daffodil Festival for a super family weekend. Yeah, what do you mean by both those?
Sorry, I'm just.
It talks about the Masterton Cultural Festival and a new event, and there's great potential to pair this up with the Daffodil Festival.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Over the 3 days.
Yeah.
There's one in Masterton on Saturday and then this on the Sunday.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Any other questions or comments to Anna?
I guess you've heard this comment a million times. You produce this report once a quarter. You have the expenditure in the 3 districts, and we're kind of just above the y-axis. How do we fix that?
More tourism operators and packaging. So if you, as an example, so Whiti Manuka and under the Star Safari, they're based in this region. So the spend data that we get comes from credit card currently. That's the way that MB picks up that data. If somebody comes to stay at Whiti Manuka or goes to Star Safari, they pay a certain amount. Star Safari now is a trade-ready product, international. they can command more money because tourists spend more and they stay longer, and they package this up. And we're talking hundreds of dollars. So the more the people that are attracted to visit Whiti and undertake a star safari experience, they spend more money on the credit card, which means that there'll be obviously not, you need a few of those together, but that's how you increase your blip. We have a problem here in the Wairarapa where all the cool things that we really enjoy are predominantly free. We can derive an income out of this by taking people on tours of our wonderful natural habitat, and charging money for it. And that can be paid for through a credit card, which will then come out in your spend data.
Mm-hmm.
So when, for example, as I said, we've got 3 or 4 new operators just in the last couple of weeks. I'll give you an example, TP Cider. So they're producing a product. They now have a cellar door. So there's a visitor experience. So they are now going to create they'll show up in the tourism data, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. The more operators and the more things that we are welcoming visitors to our region and deriving an income from showing them what we've got, the more money that you'll see the spend. And obviously the more money goes into the supermarket, into the petrol station, everybody's pockets.
So is that some credit cards domiciled outside this region? Is that we could have?
Yeah, they're pretty clever. They can actually tell if you have a primary and a secondary home space. So if you live in Carterton and you travel into Wellington each day, well, you're not a tourist into Wellington each day, and you're not a tourist in your own region. You have a primary and a secondary area. But if you are a Wellingtonian, you've come over here for a weekend, you're not regularly travelling in and out, then it'll pick up that as a spend.
Watching your spend.
Everybody's watching me all the time.
So use your credit card when you're going away to create spends. But the unfortunate thing is that if people are spending money in their automatic transfer, bank to bank or Apple Pay, any of that sort of stuff, it doesn't get picked up. So there's a real flaw in that, but it's the best data that we've got currently.
Your Worship.
Yeah, and a sort of a tangential question. As you know, we have a Wairarapa economic development strategy, and we have Destination Wairarapa. Part of the economic development strategy is a block on tourism, and and it's good to see Dark Skies is recognised in the WED's strategy. But I guess my question to you is, where are we lacking? If we are doing so well with, if we have the strong potential to be the playground for Wellingtonians, and we are developing through Dark Skies a international clientele, is there a gap? Do we need an events or attraction strategy incorporated into that? Have we got a gap in our strategy from your perspective?
I don't think, my perspective is we don't have a regional strategy as of yet, and that's half the problem. And I think we need to, and that's where Chrissy, I think most of you have met Chrissy Cummings. She has been partially funded by WEDS and ourselves in order to focus on the Dark Skies opportunity, but that funding finishes in March. Her role has been to coordinate and bring interested parties, whether they're council, whether they're operators, whether they're iwi, together in order to start these initiatives. World Space Week wouldn't have been kicked off if it hadn't been for Chrissy saying, here's an opportunity, it's a global initiative. Is there something that Carterton can claim for themselves? And it's been jumped on. If it wasn't for somebody sort of in that space, sorry for want of a better word, really driving the opportunity, but also Chrissy is an expert in international trade development. So she has also been the one that under the stars, I keep saying under stars, Star Safari, she has been holding their hand in order to be trade ready so that international people can buy that product and access it through a wholesaler. They're also committed to be at Trends, which is the New Zealand national trade show, where they invite all the big wholesalers from around the world to come and view what the opportunity is. Star Safari are going to have a stand there at significant cost to themselves because they recognise that it's good for them and it's good for the region and they want to grow it. We want more operators doing such a thing. Sorry, I hope that answered your question, Ron.
Yeah, thank you. I think you answered in the first sentence, but that's good background. And I have spent had a number of meetings with Chrissy, and I have to say I'm impressed. I think the fact that some people are elevating their sights to the global opportunities that the Wairarapa has, if it seeks to take advantage, is good to have. It's good to have someone with that vision. But thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, thank you, Anna. And if you could please pass on to your team and everybody that you associate with on behalf of us, thank you for what you do. And thank you for the, we appreciate, I think there's retailers in this room and we understand the challenges of the current environment and the recent environment. And we're just trying to leverage every opportunity out of locals, tourists, anybody that's wants to share some of the opportunities in the Carterton and Wairarapa districts.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Wishing you all a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Receiving the report, do I have a mover, please? Councillor Cherry Campbell, seconded Councillor Gallen. All those in favour? Against? Carried. There wouldn't be a council meeting without dogs, so page 265. Solitaire. Yeah, exactly. It's the highlight of the agenda, isn't it, Councillor Creek?
Hasn't she got a conflict of interest?
Who doesn't? Report on the administration of Carterton District Council's practices in relation to the control of dogs for the year 1 July 2022 to 30 June 23. That's longer than the report.
Well, it is longer than the report, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, this is a report that we are required to do under Section 10 of the Animal Control Act. I will, on the whole, take the report as read, and it's already been reported on this morning in the Times Age, but I think I'll just do a couple of comparative highlights so it doesn't look completely doom and gloom. So the previous year we issued out 29 infringements, and this year we only issued out 12 infringements, which is really going to show that having an active animal control officer out there in the district, being proactive and communicating is really working well for us. We had 57 wandering dogs this year as opposed to 90 the previous year. And menacing with the Section 33A classifications, there was 22 the previous year and 6 this year. So I personally would like to commend my animal control officer, Dave Morris, on the really good work that he is doing in this space. And I'm happy to answer questions to the best of my ability.
I just have one regarding the dogs impounded is 42 and the numbers underneath that add up to 38. What happened to the other 4?
You stole my shit.
I guess, are they still in the pound as at the writing of the report?
The back of the pound, way down the back. I made that comment as well. I noted, I expect some of the dogs that were impounded were returned the same day, and so they're probably
Right away.
Yeah, I thought that was within the margin of error.
No, our record keeping in the animal control is really, really good.
I have no doubt. Thank you, Solitaire. Any other questions?
You didn't lose them, but that's what.
Wouldn't bother me if you did. Are there any? Yes, Councillor Ayling.
So mine's just a question regarding the number of dog-related complaints at 240. I'm wondering if you have any information off the top of your head of how many actual different dogs that was relating to, because I imagine there's a handful that get the lion's share of complaints.
I would be assuming that it's a few recidivist offenders, and probably a lot of those would relate to the ones that have ended up having further classifications or being impounded. And when you look at the number of dog-related complaints, 44 for dog barking, 57 for dog wandering, 30 lost dogs, 24 found dogs. So we've got 6 dogs that we didn't find. They probably returned home themselves. So yeah, there will be a few that are, but that's where the proactive animal control ranger, recognising that there's a problem, working with the people to either ensure that the properties are better fenced, or if there is barking, why are the dogs barking? What can they do to mitigate that? Is it they're tied up, they're bored, they're getting too hot? So yeah, last year we had 230 complaints. So it's pretty much on par as what you expect when you've got over 2,000 dogs in a district.
Probably as an extension or a supplementary, that is how many different complainers?
I can't answer that.
Are you suggesting there's only one?
Yeah, okay. Are there any slightly more serious questions than mine to Solitaire? Are there any comments? Okay, with that, we move to the recommendations on page 268 that council receives the report, moved by councillor Dalla, seconded by councillor Gallen. You're waving your pen, thank you. All those in favour? Against, carried. And 2, adopts the report on councils, etc. So we like to move that. Councillor Cretney, councillor Cherry Campbell, all those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you, Solitaire. Merry Christmas. Page, sorry.
Nothing.
Page 269, meeting schedule. Here on. I do like all the acronyms.
Not nearly as many as Reno.
No, but something to aspire to.
It is.
Right, thank you. Yes, with Robin's assistance, actually, I can't done the timetable, but I take it papers read and the current timetable, which could be subject to minor changes throughout the year. It's pretty standard report.
I would add one note that it's likely we will need to add an extraordinary general meeting to cover off the annual report, because the timing of that's not quite yet known.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you for accommodating councillor's requests and his worship's request around avoiding school holidays and so forth like that. So thank you for making that happen. Are there any questions or comments of Karen? It's really a rollover of our typical meeting schedule. If there are none, receiving the report, moved by councillor Lawrence, scratching his ear, seconded by councillor Newman. Thank you. All those in favour? Against? Carried. 2, adopting the schedule of meetings for January to December 24 as outlined in attachment 1. Councillor Ayling? Jolly good, thank you. Seconded his worship, he smiled. All those in favour? Against, carried. And 3rd, notes that the meeting dates may be changed by agreement with Chair and CE and will be advertised as required by the Act. I'm happy to move, seconded by councillor Dalla. All those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you, Carol. 273, Lagoima.
You'll permit me, Deputy Chair, normally our Corporate Services Manager would deliver this report. It's Karen's first report, so I'm happy to take the lead on this. It's a standard report on our Lagoima requests, and you will note that we've added additional table in there with regards service complaints. So we're now monitoring or tracking much more closely our service complaints, and we'll include that in this report. If it becomes significantly more voluminous, we'll create a standard separate report for it. But at this stage, we'll include the service complaints as part of the Lagoima requests reporting.
The only thing I'd be really interested to see alongside the column of working days to respond is number of hours that it takes to conclude some of these Lagoimas. When you look it down and the proliferation of questions, I have no doubt the requesters are serious in their intention, But if you take a minute and try and imagine the hours that some of these questions would take, is just, I'd be fascinated to know, and I wonder if there'd be public interest in knowing how many hours from our modest staff numbers goes into.
Yeah, maybe something we can add. I have been reiterating to our team that anything more than 1 hour, we need to go back to the requester. We had one request that came through in the last bunch. I don't think we've answered it just yet, but the request was for all correspondence for such a subject, and it ended up with over 15,000 emails, mostly because they were going to multiple people. Therefore, one email sent to 9 councillors was counted 9 times because we checked 9 different email addresses. So that sort of thing can create enormous workload for the team. We responded and asked them to change the request.
Put in a column that says if it's in the sort of 1 hour time frame, then it's normal, but anything that exceeds that,
We could have a look at that.
monitor that.
Are there any questions or comments on both the information that's attached, the Lagoima and the complaints report? Any comments? We move to the recommendation on page 277 that council receives the report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cretney, seconded by Councillor Gallen. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, what have we got? Nothing in exclusion of public. Before I ask Councillor Cherry Campbell to close with a karakia, I just want to thank everybody for their contribution to Carterton District Council over the past year. That's staff, management, councillors, His Worship, everybody who's part of this team. It's not Christmas yet. We've got a very big weekend around the village, very Carterton Christmas parade. Still how many shopping days till Christmas, Steve Lawrence? I'm not sure, but plenty of opportunity for us to enjoy. And I just want to acknowledge the challenges that the Main Street retailers are facing at the moment from some of the works in and around our community. I know it's challenging. I know it's stress that they didn't ask for. And I just want to acknowledge or encourage all of our locals to spare a thought for our local businesses and to show them every goodwill and every opportunity to sell them something in the next few weeks. With that, I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and look forward to seeing all of the councillors and staff next Wednesday. Governance group, we've got a morning tea at Elmo's at 9. Then we have a day of long-term plans, so our job is not over. But yeah, I just extend my best wishes. I love being part of this team, and I'm so glad you're all part of it too. Your Worship, would you like to make any closing comments?
Thank you, Dale. And I can only recap. Thanks to the staff, the management team, faced some very big challenges over the year, and I'm quite humbled that I'm fortunate to have such a damn good council. It's when I travel and meet with other councils and attend other meetings, and I hear reports that 45% of what Wellington has in water storage and treats as potable water goes to waste because they won't put in water meters. They can't handle the political debate around that. It is with some sense of pride that I'm able to say, well, the previous council made that step and installed smart meters, and from that, on top of the original installation of water meters, Carterton was immediately able to save 30%. That only comes through the bravery and the tenacity of the councillors at the table, and it's like the land purchase thing. Please do not underestimate the impact long-term that those decisions have made for the people of Carterton. One day they will thank you for it. And looking at some of the issues that have arisen, I will look back over my time over the last year and take note of some things that I could do better, but also take heart from the things that we've done well as a team. Got a few bridges that we're putting back together with my whanaunga on the iwi side, but I think there's a strong realisation that there are different ways of skinning cats and that maybe we're not all wrong about what we've done. And but I think, you know, now's the time, and I'm a bit worried because Chris tested again this morning and she's still positive. So stand by, Deputy Dog. You may be in the carriage on the Christmas parade in my place. But look, now's the time to, you know, look forward to making up some quality time with your family, with your children, grandchildren, because you've worked hard through this year and you've tackled some very big issues. I thank you for that. Thank you for your service, and I want you to know I appreciate your courage and your bravery. And yeah, looking forward to another year. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Kia ora, Your Worship. Councillor Cherry Campbell.
Kia ora. Hia tau ki a tātou katoa te atawhai o toa tātou ariki. A ihu kara iti. Me tu aroha o te atua. Me te whiwhi nā tahitanga. I te wairoa tapu. Aki, aki, aki. Amen.
Kia ora.